Hey guys,
Hey,
we
Hello.
have Nick here and we have Rachel here. Thank you for being here.
No problem.
Um,
Very happy to join you guys.
Thank you. I've never seen our chat this quiet, to be honest, though.
let's hope it stays that
uh,
way.
oh my goodness. Okay, so it's
It just
saying error
started though.
dragging.
Might take some time.
It might be that, but usually people are here before chat is already. So
Mm.
Yeah,
why
and
are
also
my?
when you say you start at like 8, you always start at 10 past 8.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Too
Dick taught
early
us that
today.
trick. Something is not working. Um. Oh, none of my stream keys are working. Hey, Keith.
Hey,
Um,
Keith.
That's
Keith,
why we didn't have anybody in there.
Keith, can you check if you can post any commands? Because none of the commands on my side are working for some reason.
This is a professional outfit.
Yeah, completely. Totally not. Totally used to this. Um, yeah. But this is like, oh, it works for Steve. I mean, for Keith. It works for Keith. It just doesn't. Oh, because I'm not logged in as PK on this. I don't even. Okay. I'm just gonna have Keith take care of this, and then I will deal with it later. Um, but yeah. So thank you guys for being here. Um, and yeah, we have. Okay, yeah, Nightbot is working. That's good to know. Nice of Nightbot to show up. Okay, perfect. Okay, so Nick,
Yes.
do you have a way to introduce yourself?
I'm just here because Yana doesn't want me messing around in the chat.
That is true. That is actually
That's a good
true.
reason. It's a very good reason. Yeah.
I'm Nick.
Yeah. And Rachel, can you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Rachel, and I'm the director of ProtectaVolunteer. So this is an organization that exists to primarily support the foreign volunteers in Ukraine. So we are a fundraising platform and a donor matching platform. We're really unique. We're kind of the only one that does it this way. And so what we
Yeah,
do,
you are.
we got very creative with some of the stuff we're doing. And so we match people up directly with donors, and then they work with that volunteer to help them get their equipment, their supplies, maybe do things like pay their rent for the safe house, that sort of thing. And then we also do have a lot of ways to donate that are not money. So donate airline miles to fly people to and from Ukraine or Poland, really. And then also we receive laptops and other tech equipment and get them to teams. So that's in general what we do. We're the largest organization that's really dedicated to helping the foreigners who are here.
Yeah, I remember, um, you know, speaking to you, asking you if you knew anyone who helps foreign volunteers with mental health and stuff. Which, because I think that's one of the things is, there's the fundraising online thing
Mhm.
that that we know a lot of foreign volunteers do. Um, but people do prefer to have that, at least there's an organization that's vetted this person kind
Yeah.
of thing, that I think is very important. Um, and then the other thing is that I think is important is like, I forgot what I was going to say.
Um, sure, I can
Yeah.
just comment on that. So in terms of the
Yeah.
foreign,
So
yeah.
yeah. What made you decide to like, is it the first time you did, like, was Ukraine the first time you got involved with this? Have you done something similar in the past or?
So yes and no, because this is the first time I've worked with the military directly.
Mhm.
I've coming from a background. I spent a lot of time in academia and working in NGOs in developing countries, and so my specialization when I work with NGOs was really the project design and
Okay.
implementation, especially working in areas that are really corrupt, areas that have a lot of problems. And the thing is, in those areas, nothing works the way you want it to. You know, for example, if you're American and you would like to donate to an American charity, what you can do is pull up the reports, pull up Charity Navigator, and it will tell you who does what and give you a rundown. It doesn't work when you're working halfway around the world. It doesn't work when you don't have a functioning government that has oversight. It really doesn't work too when you have all the challenges on the ground of working within a war zone or a post-conflict zone, that sort of thing. And so I experimented a lot with donor matching programs, saying, okay, well, instead of giving the proof just in terms of, hey, here's our big annual report, here's the government audit, we're going to match people up directly and show the proof in other ways. And so I started with that. I did a similar program in Lebanon where we gave laptops to students and teachers. We used airline miles to fly migrant workers home after the Beirut blast, and then we matched people up directly, families who had had their homes damaged in the blast. That was really small, but that now became a support program for the military with ProtectaVolunteer. So I kind of switched sides, I guess you could say, and I went from being a humanitarian and nephew to supporting soldiers.
Yeah, but I mean, I remember Pete made this statement a while ago when he joined the military. He said, if we don't support the military in Ukraine, pretty soon there won't be any civilians who will need humanitarian aid.
Exactly. Yeah. I spent a long time in 2022, 2023. I did do a lot of civilian aid. After a while, I realized, the military needs it much more. There will not be civilians to help if we don't help the military. And the other thing, too, is that Ukrainians are pretty well equipped to help each other on the civilian side. For the most part, they're taking care of their needs and doing a great job of it. And so the military needs are where they need the foreign support. Yeah.
I think it's also nice for the soldiers to know, like, there is someone who's taking care of them. To be like, so, your nickname, the Godmother. I was gonna be honest with you. Before the stream, I had to be creative, come up with a title with it, and I wanted to call you the mother of volunteers, like you take care of volunteers.
Yeah.
And my think tank, which is Nick and Radek and Julia, they were like, "No, that's too far." And Radek had some creative ideas,
Those were hilarious. I love those.
They were
perfect. I'd like to
They
fundraise
were...
for. That was funny. Yeah.
But can you tell us a bit about how your nickname came about?
Sure. So my call sign is Godmother. I actually have a patch that has Marlon. A soldier made it for me. He designed it where it's got Marlon Brando's face from the Godmother with a red wing on it. And then it has like the F-16s flying right by it. It's amazing. Where this comes from is basically, I'm known for being pretty tough. I would say, to work with these grunts, like you gotta be tough. You gotta be in charge. And when I first started this, I wasn't quite that way. And a lot of the guys were like, no, you gotta lay the smack down sometimes. You gotta be in charge. And so that's what I do. But we have, other people get like normal rumors where it's like, oh, like, I don't know, this was stolen or whatever. I get crazy ones. And so the origin of the Godmother story was there was two things that happened simultaneously at the same time where a guy stole a car, a stolen ambulance actually was being used to evacuate civilians. And simultaneously at the same time, he sent death threats to members of a military unit that we support and then threatened us as well. And we were just like, wait, what the heck is going on here? And then everybody started, and then when he got arrested for stealing the car, because that is what happens when you steal things, is the police
steal things, yeah,
and they arrest you for it. He was like, oh, the military guys are threatened. They're here. So he started telling everybody that I had sent this group of foreign military guys to a police checkpoint to like arrest him and beat him up. In reality,
and you're categorically denying that here now.
Yes, I did not. As much as I did not send a military team to a Ukrainian police checkpoint to arrest somebody. But he told like the entire country this, and a lot of people actually believed it. And so after that, for a while, we get all these messages being like, "Hey, I have a problem with this guy. Do you think you can send me to like go deal with it?" And I was like, "What? Like that's not a thing."
No.
But yeah, that's the origin of it. And from there, it's just kind of the legend, but it's just become an ongoing joke of like, yes, Rachel like sends, armed hitmen to police checkpoints. Who doesn't have that rumor about themselves? Yeah.
Thank you, Keith, for blocking that clown. Also, hello, Rara from Honduras. Hello. One global South person to another global South person. What up? So, Rachel, I'm very disappointed that you don't take people out.
I mean, I think,
Well, she
yeah, a lot of people
would
have been
have to deny it, wouldn't
Yeah.
she? Anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Sorry, we can't say this.
But no, but I really think the thing is, like, I win like the greatest rumor award because that one's
That
hilarious.
is the best rumor. That
Yeah.
is honestly the best
I mean,
rumor.
a lot of the time when people make up these rumors, they actually kind of make you seem a bit more badass than you actually are.
No, that's the thing, because like the ones I've dealt with have been like, she gives people cocaine, she takes out hits on people and stuff. And at first I was like, you know what, I should defend myself against this. And then the soldiers were all like, no, you should just lean into it because that's
I love that. I love that. But I actually want to ask you on this, right? Because you obviously, like you said, you know a lot of the foreign soldiers. I've seen a thing where I've seen a lot of people who came to Ukraine as like humanitarian volunteer.
Yeah.
Switched eventually, like after 2 years, they're military.
Yes.
Have you seen the same trend?
Oh, definitely. So here's the thing, I'm still on the civilian side. I'm not contracted with the military.
No, I understand that.
Yeah, but the thing, I'm one of the rare ones, though. Actually, a lot of people have joined, and the reason I've stayed out is I think I have a bigger impact doing what I do than actually joining. I have no business being in a trench; it would not go well. It's really common, and I think it's a couple of reasons. One is that people see what Russia is doing to people, and they want to have a bigger impact. They want to join themselves. Everybody ends up with friends in the military. The friends die, get injured. You feel like you need to join yourself. And then the other reason I would say is monetary. After a while, volunteers start running out of money, and the military offers a paycheck, and so it can be some of both that I've seen. I've also seen people, oftentimes it's a very good way to get introduced to the country and spend a few months learning some Ukrainian, learning how things work here, and then joining. A lot of people really recommend that. Even if you're 100% sure you're going to join, spend a couple months just kind of getting used to
getting to know the people. Yeah,
exactly.
I think, and it's so someone who used to volunteer with us at Project Constantine, right? Two of them, no more, a few of them have joined the military now.
Yeah.
Right? And the one guy reached out to Nick. Are you seeing what Viper's sending you in chat?
Yeah, I don't know how to respond through this tech app. I have to find it on YouTube to respond.
You can, I don't know if you can do in the chat section. Do you see the chat section pop up? Do you have that, or is it just on my side?
It's all right. I'll figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, and I was talking to him, checking up on him, seeing if he's still okay.
Yeah.
And he's not. He's injured, and I'm so pissed. But anyway. And he told me, like, are you guys still fundraising? Because he hasn't been keeping up to date with things. So he asked me, it's like, are we still fundraising? Because he's got a list of requests. And like, so far he's raised $1,000. He's like, he used to be able to fundraise a lot, but now it's $1,000. And I'm like, wow, okay, that's difficult for him. So we just bought them 2 Starlink minis. And he even explained to me why they want the minis. I'm like, dude, you're not the first military person we're working with. It's fine.
Yeah.
We'll get you the minis, right? But we were talking, and he said, wow, thank you for actually sticking to your word.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people he reached out to will be like, yeah, I'll help. Yes, I'll help. Yeah, I'll see what I can do. I'll help. I'll get it sorted. And then time goes on, and no one's helping.
Yeah.
And he's kind of counted on them. And I don't think people realize that making promises like this to a soldier who is fundraising, who is in charge of fundraising for his unit, there are people who are relying on those promises that have been made.
They are, and it's a life and death situation.
Exactly.
One thing is I see it from both sides here. Of one thing, I've heard some things from soldiers of, sometimes they've said volunteers promised this and it never came, or volunteer said, oh, well, I'm not going to get you this tourniquet, I'm going to get you the other one or something. You're like, no, I need the actual right one. That's really unacceptable to promise. On the flip side of it, every single group has way more requests than we can possibly grant ever. And so sometimes, we regularly have to sometimes turn people down, where it's not that we don't want to help them, but there's just only so much that can be done. And there's some things that, we're just not as able to provide. And so I've often tried to refer them other places, but we can't do everything. The other thing too is that fundraising can be really unpredictable. Sometimes a fundraise for something, and within a few hours or 24 hours, we'll have all the money. For other times, it might go on and on and on. And so when people are asking, like, "Hey, is there an update?" It's really just like, we'll see here. And I think, what it comes down to is, militaries are not meant to be crowdfunded and because it's not the ideal solution. They're meant to be able to just go to a supply store and say, "Hey, I need these 10 things. Here's the 10 things," and you take them. This is an entirely different way of doing things, and it's not ideal for either side.
No. Yeah, it's
when you match donors with fighters, do you actually match them with them, and then they see that they sort of maintain communication and support with that specific fighter?
Yeah. So what it is so we match up a group of donors. Usually, it's anywhere from sometimes only one person if it's a big donor, sometimes up to 5, 7 people, and they're in a signal chat with the soldier they're supporting. Sometimes there's more than one soldier in there. This can work a couple of different ways. Sometimes they're helping a soldier just individually get something that they need, maybe replace kit that's destroyed after a mission. Other times they're matched with a team leader or the team rep, where they're helping get the team other supplies. We've had people who've been matched up for years now, actually 2 or 3 years. A lot of them have formed pretty strong friendships. We've had people go meet their donors in person. We've had a lot of people consider it, a really, really good friendship. Actually, we've had people, be injured and have to go home, and the donors help them out, getting a rental deposit for apartments and things, because it's a pretty unique bond. It's pretty awesome to see. I can't say it's always 100% perfect, because it's human to human, so all kinds of things can go wrong. We got all kinds of different personalities and people from all over the world and that kind of thing. But for the most part, people are really, really satisfied with it. We also, unfortunately, we've had a lot of volunteers who've been killed, and that's devastating for the donors. We have had, usually when that has happened, though, we've had donors go to their funerals, and very often decide to keep helping the team and say, "I want to get matched up with somebody new from the team to, in their honor, keep things going." So it's brutal. I think we have, of any NGO, we've got the model where it's really like the most emotionally brutal of how we've set this up. At the same time, though, it is rewarding. You get to know who you are helping. You have a vested interest, in the war and keeping this person safe, and you feel that this is actually people actually fighting. It's not just soldiers; it's people. It's humans. Who just
it seems like it's a very sort of specific type of donor that you target.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, some people, would love to just give $50 a month to United 24 and never think about it, never see it. That's totally awesome if they're doing that. This is appealing to a completely different kind of person who really does want more communication and more interest. It's just a completely different style.
Yeah. No, it's a challenging thing, definitely. So can you explain how the flight sponsorship program works? Like, do you hoard everyone's flight miles and then you're like, "Here, you can have some, or
Yes, I hoard them all together, and then I use them to fly to Hawaii myself.
got it.
Yeah.
Genius.
No, actually, how it works is it's pretty cool. So we ask people just to sign up. You are not actually able to transfer airline miles, at least not without a giant fee. I would love it if we could do that, actually, but it's difficult to do that, and the companies will never allow you to do it if people are going to fight a war with that. It's just not going to happen.
True.
So instead, what we do is people sign up. They tell us how many miles they have and with which company. And then we've got a guy who is a points expert. Nobody understands how he does it. He's amazing at it. And then he figures out, once we've vetted the volunteers.
Thank you for the subscription and fitness model. Sorry, please continue.
Once we have determined which volunteers need flights, he matches the donors up directly, and so they do the booking themselves. So they know who they're flying. Some of them as well, they keep in touch long afterwards.
Awesome.
Yeah. It also, what's pretty cool about it is, it's not money. This has saved hundreds of thousands of dollars, actually, from what volunteers would have had to spend on their
Yeah.
flights. And then there's a lot of people who are corporate travelers, and they've got way more miles than they ever knew what to do with, and they're just able to, some people have flown 15 or 20 people to Ukraine, or just through what they're doing for work, no money at all.
Yeah, and a lot of people probably wouldn't have even thought that they can help in that way.
Yeah. No, this is one, I think, if people are looking at, hey, how do I help Ukraine? Get the word out that this exists. Because we are now going to start, it's in the process right now, but we're going to start working more directly with the Foreign Recruitment Center, where to get high value recruits who Ukraine has identified that, yes, we 100% want this person that's got extensive military experience, and we're going to get the flights for them. That's a massive way to help Ukraine and get more soldiers to fight who are really committed to being here. And it is not money at all.
Yeah. I just want to say also thank you to Dan Smith for becoming a member and for donating a membership. And my big brother got it. Piper, Whitney, welcome. Yeah. Not my actual brother, biologically. He's my brother, but not biologically.
There's other kinds of brothers, many kinds of brothers.
Yeah. Brothers. I think that is really, like you said, like people who fly for work, they don't know what to do with it,
The reason I came up with this idea is I used to have a job where I flew for work all the time. And
I used to have a job. I like that pause between where I flew all the time and I used to have a job. I'm like,
no, I do still have a job outside of this, but just it's not that job anymore. But anyway, I flew for work with students all the time, taking them on different trips. And then I had a credit card that gave me a ton of airline miles as well. And I would check the account and just be like, I can go, like, it was just tons and tons of miles that I often used for my own trips, but it was like, there's no way you would ever get through these in a lifetime. So some people, just booked one person, and that's amazing. But some people, the major people that can help here are the people where it's like, you are on the road every week. You've got miles galore that you will never get through in your whole life, and you can use them to help Ukraine.
That's awesome.
Sorry, my connection is being weird. Just 1 second.
Yeah, I know.
For some reason, it should.
Are you finding that there's things specifically that soldiers are asking
to Africa,
for more
guys.
at the moment? Oh, Jana's behind.
Yeah. So, sorry, I missed the question.
So like, oh my god. What are some of the most essential types of support that volunteer fighters are asking for at the moment?
Good question. So the flights are the number one thing. The Latin American volunteers, that's the number one thing. So I think this isn't really well known, but Ukraine has thousands of Latin Americans helping them. That is the number, because many reasons for this, because they've got a lot of people with military experience for whom the salary in Ukraine is a draw. To be honest, I don't mean to say that they're mercenaries, but I mean that it's not like they could earn that amount of money in their home country.
You're scraping by,
and they're willing to go. So this is a group that really needs help, but their flights are expensive based on what their home incomes are. So that flights, I would say, the number one thing. The second thing are actually the laptops. This shows the changing nature of the war, that a year ago we didn't even provide laptops. We didn't have much need for them. Now that is the number one request we have. Everybody constantly begging for laptops because of the drones. And so they're getting drones, but the laptops get overlooked, and those cost hundreds of dollars. They get blown up all the time on positions, or they get trashed and damaged. So that's just a constant need. And so really, I would say
the drones, they need the laptops in order to work with the drones.
Yes, they have to program the drones. And to be honest, I have no idea how they do that or what they're doing with them, but they definitely do need laptops for it. So I think the big things that we're focused on actually are things that people can provide without money, which is great. And no one else is doing these. But there are some people collecting laptops, but not enough. And the flights, we're the only ones that do that.
Yeah. And I know Radek told us that he contacted you about his Xbox. So that also you take like gaming platforms as well and things
Yes,
like that.
we
Yeah.
also take Xboxes and PlayStations or any other kind of gaming platform, and then we give them to people who are injured or the rehab centers here.
That's
And these are
amazing.
actually great because some of these people are going to be there for months and they need some
Yeah.
things to do. And also, I will just tell you, these are not guys who are meant to just sit around. And so we actually have, it's, I mean, it's sad, but it's kind of funny, but we have quite a lot of people who have injured themselves further in the hospital because they get bored and they start trying to do things like do pull-ups off the door frame or like push-ups off the balcony or stuff like that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Well,
all the
yeah,
time.
I'm sure it can be like a very traumatic thing to go through to have to be stationary for so long.
Yeah, especially if you're
Yeah.
like active. Yeah.
Like they're all active young people that are used to being out and about and they're used to
Mm.
having all of these, amazing physical abilities too. And then when you're adapting to not have that,
Yeah.
that's tough. And it's also they're also get really bored. And so the gaming systems are not just like, hey, this is a nice thing, but it's more like, no, they really need something to do to help them
Yeah.
rehabilitate in terms of movement and then also, keep themselves out of trouble in the hospital.
Yeah. I have a friend who has a private clinic in Novovolinsk in Volyn
Mhm.
Oblast. And I went there when I was in Ukraine. He showed me around, and they rehabilitate soldiers for free, but that they rely on donations for that. And
Mhm.
they have this entire gym set up and archery. There's just like this
Yeah,
massive board, and then there's a picture of Putin's face with a target on it.
I approve.
And they do
Yeah.
archery, and it's really
Mhm.
good for motor skills and balance and
Yeah.
everything. And I'm like, that's
Mhm.
awesome. So it's like not something you would expect, but yeah, they have that. And then well, that's really awesome. It's really cool that, it's these small things that people don't think about.
Yeah.
I mean, last week I had another volunteer on here, Zhenya,
Mhm.
and we were talking about it. Like, oftentimes people want to fundraise for like a truck, which
Yeah.
that is very needed. We are providing more. We have like 2 in the pipeline and looking at more to
Yeah.
come right now, right? But oftentimes small things and it's small, not like I'm South African. Our currency is terrible, so like things
Yeah.
are expensive here,
Yeah.
But a tablet, for example, or a battery, or they can't operate without this. And it's not as flashy as saying like, here, you can put your name on this car.
Exactly. So I think cars are my least favorite thing to deal with. I have some kind of curse where every time we get a car, just something goes wrong. But really, that's a good point. I think the way to think about this too is, yes, all of these soldiers are paid, but their paychecks go right back into everything they need. This is much like a teacher that has to output their entire
Yeah.
classroom for everything they need. And so, they can easily. So, just some of the things that we've got a fund that we jointly operate with Ukraine Frontline, where it's all just about providing small things, because it's actually a ton of stuff that they go through, like the duct tape, the sandbags, the zip ties, the protein bars, like all of this stuff. All of that comes out of their paychecks. It's all expensive. And if you add, so we equip a lot of teams with that, and if you add everything together, it's sometimes a couple $1,000s of everything that we're buying, and it's all essentials. But it's not a car; it's not a big thing. I think
Yeah.
though, if people can only give $10, well, that's actually like a week's worth of protein bars for one person. It's going to keep them
Yeah.
equipped in the field. That's substantial.
And how
That is.
does the whole sort of logistics chain for you go? Like when people donate things, do they bring it over with them and hand it over, and then you take it to the people who need them, or how does this all work?
So if they're donating a physical item, it depends upon where they're shipping from. If they're in Europe, we prefer they just ship via Nova Posta and it arrives here. If they're coming from elsewhere, usually it's the US or Canada, and then we've got a couple of points where we'll ask them to ship to there. And then there's a couple of partner NGOs that will either bring it over eventually or we'll ship it. Elsewhere in the world, unfortunately, it's often just not worth the effort to ship it. It's too expensive. We might get lucky and occasionally we have somebody flying in who can take it, but even that, it's like the coordination time of figuring out who's flying where and getting things. The other thing too is that everybody flying usually has a bunch of stuff already and can't always take. So it's usually just Europe, US, or Canada that we can accept physical goods. For everything else, we pretty much purchase everything in Ukraine. Almost everything can be bought here. with the rare exceptions, we will bring something in. But I would say NVGs are an exception. Those are usually better to purchase outside. And then there's some specific military gear, but everything else, like Ukraine actually manufactures great things, and it's better to purchase it here.
And the soldiers get a discount.
Yes, they do.
They have a military discount.
We get that as well. And so, yeah,
you do?
Yeah,
Okay.
we've got all the discount, and we've negotiated rates too with a lot of the Ukrainian companies. Yes, we've negotiated rates. So this does present a complication if sometimes people are like, "Hey, show the receipts." I'm like, I can't actually show.
Yeah, you can't actually do this one.
So that's one thing. Like I know when people are like, "Oh, we want to see all the receipts in public." Sometimes it's like, "Oh, not if we have a 40% discount and we're not." Right.
I need your contacts. No, I was telling. I remember we were fundraising for 40 IFACs, but it was like last year. It was like our big fundraiser, and people from Toonie Tuesday helped out and closed that fundraiser in a week. And because I was looking at it, and we bought it from Talk Medicine, right? And I told Helena, I'm like, okay, get us a quote and secure the price for us, because they have a sale on Cat 7s now. Price cap it for us at this price. And she's like, why? I'm like, get the quote, get it sorted. And literally 2 days after we got that confirmation, they ended the sale and increased the price from the original price. I'm like, this is why we cap.
So I negotiate everything that we buy in Ukraine. So I tell them it's for the military. Sometimes, I'll tell them like, hey, we'll give you a shout out on social media. And pretty much everybody has said yes to some kind of discount because everybody cares about the military. But I'm coming, it's like I spent a long time in the Middle East, so I'm used to being like, oh, you said $5. No, I'm definitely not paying that. So,
so you're haggling
with everything. However, it does help a lot too. Even if you're purchasing in bulk, a 10% discount is a huge amount of money to save.
Yeah, definitely. So I think the other thing is like, this is and you touched on it, the supply sponsorship, right? Because I know the guys need like the basic stuff, but like when you were saying like zip ties and duct tape, I'm like, oh yeah, they need that too. It was like, what? Like when did we buy? But like, guys will post the receipts and we will post the equipment and that we've bought. But we recently bought gym equipment for the motorized infantry battalion of the 42nd Brigade, because Halida, of course, goes there and she's like, she did like kind of a mental wellness thing with the soldiers. She goes there, gives them some mental training. This is how you keep your head cool on the field. This is what you do, like off it, just to maintain yourself. And she's telling them, she's like, and you need to work out. You need to, to keep your. And then they come to her. They're like, yeah, so we actually don't have gym equipment. We're really struggling. Can you guys help? So we've bought gym equipment now, right? But it's really the thing of taking care of someone and understanding that it's not just, the gun and the drone and everything, but we're looking at a complete person, and we need to help them on as like holistically.
I mean, they're still people, so they need all the things other people need. And one of the reasons that we started providing some things that are not the traditional military aid was that when I was going to meet them in person, I kept running into people who had easily preventable problems, or it'd be like, you got nerve damage due to frostbite, or you got skin rashes due to this kind of thing. And it's like, because they're so focused on all their kit equipment, they're missing some of the little things. And so we started providing, so for example, like the 3rd Assault Brigade International Trainers, they're fully stocked. We've got shower packs and foot powder and a bunch of little stuff that they give out as needed, because they keep running into people where it's like, they just don't have it or not thinking about it. There's the mental load of thinking about this little stuff is hard when you were in combat. I think one thing that is kind of hard to convey for anybody who's never really seen this is that they often go, so the foreign teams in Ukraine, it's a completely different just neighborhood than the Ukrainian teams. Like, everybody's fighting. But a lot of the foreign teams get moved around the country, actually, to different AOs, where they able get moved into where things are the worst. So that means extra costs for them of moving where they're going, the adjustment, all those sorts of things, and a pretty stressful life. Everybody's got a ton of stress. A bunch of them right now, too, are on extremely tough rotations where they go out for days at a time. They often get stuck there longer than they need to be. And then they come back, they're only a couple days off. And you can imagine, like, in those couple days off, you want to rest, you want to eat food. You don't want to worry about like going to buy your duct tape and like all this other stuff that you have.
Yeah.
And so this is where volunteers can actually come in of like getting that little things. Because it's like sometimes you're just like, oh my God, I just went to Nova Scotia and like the box of all the little stuff I needed was there. The mental load that you don't have after that is actually pretty awesome. The other thing too is that like they always need vehicle repairs, and so that frees up their own time to constantly repair the vehicle again and again and again and again.
Yeah. Honestly, vehicle repairs. We started making a joke. We started having this joke in PK when we were still doing the Kazivac, where we said we are single-handedly keeping Ukraine's mechanics afloat.
Yes.
It's like
it's constant. You repair it. You repair it one day, and then the next day it's broken again.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember I was asking like, hey, why isn't this car repaired yet? I have the fundraiser, we have the money, why it's not repaired? They're like, Yana, there's a queue at the mechanic. We are third in line.
Yeah, there's a queue. There's not enough mechanics, really. And then there's also just not enough mechanical parts. And so often they're waiting for that as well. But really, vehicles and vehicle repairs are just, it is the worst thing to deal with in Ukraine. It's just endless. There's no good solution for it.
Yeah, and it's a difficult one.
Yeah,
really, it's honestly difficult. Yeah, so we flew through my topics much faster than I planned us to fly through.
Well, I was wondering,
Nick, you have questions.
What does your team look like? Is it you doing everything, or do you have people working with you as well?
No, we've got a team. So one thing is I'm the only one in the public eye, and that is intentional because, so a few reasons for that. One thing is I'm the only one willing to deal with the endless drama of that. And everybody else wants to avoid it. And then secondly, when you work with the foreign volunteers, you become a pretty big target yourself. I think this is one thing that I sometimes wish was really understood more by people in the pro-Ukraine community of everybody's a target, but the foreign military and volunteers are the biggest target. These are the ones that Russia would love to take out. They're kind of big symbols in a way, or figure out who their families are, all this kind of thing. So the rest of our volunteers, we've got an admin staff that is mostly based in the US. And then we have some other volunteers, all of whom are Ukrainian, who are based here in Ukraine. They stay anonymous, and that's intentional because everybody then becomes a target of once they're like, oh, hey, you know the information on who these people are and where they are. It's targeted to reach out to them.
Yeah.
I regularly get all kinds of attempts to find information through me, and I'm really, really good at telling people to fuck off with that.
Well, my next question was going to be, how do you deal with the emotional toll of being the public face of it?
Oh, God. That's the worst part. The worst part of the job, the absolute worst of it. So I think, it's tough because here's the thing. I won't go into it in detail. But I have had serious security threats to my own life, or just disruptions to my own life based on being public with what I do. Absolutely serious ones, and that has been extremely frustrating. A lot of times, too, it has been because of recklessness of somebody else giving out something, because I'm quite careful what I release and what I don't, and that's been frustrating. The other thing too is just I think the toughest part about being in Ukraine is that I'm used to some of the difficulties here. When I worked in other parts of, for example, sub-Saharan Africa, and I worked in the Middle East, I worked in China, whatever, we had a lot of the same problems. We had some people who were a little bit cuckoo, a little bit crazy. That was, people get into that work. Lots of people go through PTSD, they go through alcoholism. We've got characters, we've got people not getting along. Ukraine is the only place I've encountered like actual sabotage, where people are doing things like calling in bomb threats about each other's storage units, just like making, that happened. Not to us, but like to a partner NGO, just like things, calling the FBI on each other, these sorts of things, not because of.
Oh yeah, that's a favorite.
Yeah, I would call the SBU this kind of thing, or just like intentional sabotage of what you're doing. That's the only time I've ever encountered this ever before. Or just like releasing just all these kinds of things. That's happens. I have never in my life encountered that, and that's the worst part of it, and it seems to be widespread. The other thing too is that what has been strange for me too, when I came into this, and I've got a humanitarian background. I worked in some pretty tough, pretty dangerous places before, and so I don't have military background. I didn't have OPSEC training, but I've got pretty extensive training in terms of what I would call like the human rights OPSEC of for example, sometimes people I was working with, we had like a cover story of we were in a relationship and we weren't really, because that showed why we were meeting together, this kind of thing. There's protecting you, just all these sorts of different layers of how you protect information, and that has been the norm. In Ukraine, that does not exist for the community outside the military. We have lots of people who, it's great that they are involved in this for the first time. It's wonderful that people have found a cause, but we've got a lot of people who are new at anything like this and are now involved in the most dangerous war that we've ever had. And that was one thing that I was not anticipating that. And so being the public eye with that aspect as well, not fun. Really not. By
the time you find out, it's already too late to back out of it.
Exactly. Too late. Yeah, I mean now it's way too late to back out. But like I'm a very private person too. Like I'm actually extremely introverted, and when I get time to myself, like I just want to be alone. And so being in the public eye, like oh my god, it's the worst.
We do have a question from Stacy in chat. What other things do the soldiers need that the average person might not be aware of? So obviously we've mentioned the cable ties, duct tape, paper towels. Are there any like other things that you were like,
is it like toothbrushes, toothpaste?
Where you were like the first time you got asked, you were like, what? Why do you need
the cleaning and the hygiene supplies? When they move into new safe houses, it'll just be like some random house that's abandoned and might be kind of wrecked, and they're like, hey, here's your housing, move in. It's completely disgusting. Huh. They have to clean it all up themselves. They've got to get their beds, all this kind of thing. So basically household goods are a thing that we start providing because they need that. And same thing with the hygiene kind of stuff too. Like the toothbrushes, the toothpaste, the soap, the wet
shovels.
Sandbags are another one. Tools is another one. We're gonna start a fundraiser soon for tools, pink tools.
You say sandbags.
Yeah, I love that. I love we can get to the sandbags just now. I just want to tell chat. Rachel posted a photo on her Twitter of a pink chainsaw.
Yes.
And then one of the soldiers told you, actually, I want the pink chainsaw because then nobody will steal it.
They do. So we had a hilarious problem where I accidentally ordered the female chainsaw for the guys. And so nobody is getting roasted as hard as that guy right now who made that request, because they're like, oh, Rachel thinks you're a woman.
I wasn't aware that there was such thing as female
he's having a great time with his teammates. But really what it came from that is, there's pink tools out there. And so we're going to do a fundraiser now for the pink tools, because they've all agreed that they actually love these. They're like, that exists. I want that, actually. And so we will soon have a fundraiser for the big tough guys with pink tools, if that's what they want.
I love it. I love it. Just put a little like Hello Kitty.
Exactly. No, it's going to be Hello Kitty, maybe some unicorns too, but like
yeah, you should include a
sticker pack. They're definitely getting a sticker pack. Yes.
Okay, and then Stacey, sorry Nick, I know I told you so you can have your sandbag question, but Stacey has another question. I'm wondering whether using non-standard issue military gear, especially PPE, violates any regulations, for example, getting dress code for a pink chainsaw.
It's a good question. So one thing in Ukraine is they don't have like the standard regulations like the U.S. military would have, for instance, of,
enforcing
beard length and, these sorts of things.
They enforce beard length?
The U.S. military has all kinds of very strict regs on hair, this kind of thing. Ukraine, nothing. You see people dressed.
Yeah, I've seen the guys.
All that kind of stuff. The pink chainsaw, I mean, I think a lot of the times they're not actually using these like at the front really so much. It's kind of for more behind the scenes use of when they're putting things together. So from what they've told me, there's absolutely no problem with having pink tools. They also want like pink screwdrivers and hammers and things like for the drill. So But yeah, I really hope they don't take the pink chainsaws like straight up to the zero line. I don't think they will.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Okay, Nick, your sandbag question.
I love that you've made it into this whole question now. I literally just said, did you say sandbags? but,
Yeah, I thought it was a talking point.
but was it for makeshift repairs or what's that for?
So it's mainly the mortar teams. So what it is because of the FPVs, they're oftentimes dug into the ground. They dig trenches, and then the sandbags kind of hold up the trenches or protect them from the top.
Oh, you mean this is actually for those sandbags?
Yeah.
They don't get provided those.
At least not enough of them. No.
Wow.
So the things they don't get provided are really shocking. Sometimes I have to double check with the guys. Sometimes they'll be like, "Oh, well," we've had hilarious problems before where they're like, "Oh, they told us to come down to this AO, but they're like, we don't have a vehicle to get there." And so what they end up doing is taking the train and then Nova postering all their gear with them. This kind of things. Like there's a problem supplying food right now, which a lot of people have asked me like, "Hey, is it true that the foreign volunteers really need food?" Yes, it is. This is a recent problem that has developed, and a lot of it's because of the FPVs that they're not able to go and resupply as easily as they once were. And they're often doing drone drops of supplies now for food and for water, these kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And so they've got to make sure that they have things that are going to survive a drone drop.
Yeah. I mean, do you think it's because from what I've heard, like, because we work with, and I mean, you as well, you work with several units. Some battalions, some companies, they're solid. They have command that takes care of them and everything's awesome. And then other ones that just, that support from command is not there, right? So one of the things that I always kind of ask is like, when I speak to a soldier, I'm like, how is your command? Like, what level are we dealing with here?
So this is the thing too, that for the foreign volunteers, this is a serious concern. So I'm not going to spout Russian propaganda and say that Ukraine is the most corrupt country everywhere. There's corruption everywhere. That's not true, and they're working on a lot of it. What is true, though, is that the brigades that took in a lot of the foreigners have had a major corruption problem, which has been public knowledge. There's reasons for that, because when they announced they were going to take foreigners, a bunch of the most corrupt people were like, "Ooh, money," and went over there. So this is where we've had a lot of it. And so the reason PAV is set up the way it's set up is, remember I set this up in Africa to be like, hey, let's get around a corrupt system. Same thing here, where some things command cannot, on some teams, we would not trust command, because if you tell the command, hey, here's a new vehicle, they'll be like, oh, thank you for the keys. I'm going to drive this around Kyiv now. Or here's the MVGs. Oh, amazing. Thank you. I'm going to just go wear these around at my house, this kind of thing.
Oh, they sell it.
Or sell it, yes.
Like,
that is
OLX, basically.
That is a problem. The way we get around that is that you can put things in the individual name of soldiers. And so, for example, like if you've got a trusted team leader who's been around for a long time, and then they've got the vehicle, then these things in their name. That has been a pretty reliable system to make sure that everything stays where it needs to be. There is a risk because then that person's personally in charge. You're placing the trust, and so if you get the wrong person, there's a risk to that. That with the teams that we've worked with, that has been better than going through the command structure. Not every group operates that way, though. This is specifically to combat the problems with the foreign teams. Let's say Ukrainians, it's different.
Yeah.
Different.
No, we actually work the same way with Ukrainian teams we work with. It's just, and we really saw it as a big thing when when you're dealing with a big brigade, and we had this problem with 67th, right? Once they got, because they used to be Duk, and then they became because they used to be volunteer corps, and then they, became official military like last year sometime. And when that shift happened, a lot of the gear that 67th had got redistributed. And all of a sudden, our guys are like, we had all of this, we need to get it again. So we also started working through this thing where we say, okay, we'll provide it to the soldier.
Exactly. Some of them are not exaggerating when they're just like, no, you can't give it to commander, it will be gone. Other times, though, so for example, 3rd Assault Brigade is one that we work with. we have had zero issues there with anybody running away or that kind of problem. Like there's no issues working with command. We've done a lot of requests through them. So it's not like it's an everywhere kind of problem.
Yeah. Stacy also wants to know, the guys, parentheses, should get supplied with standard issue helmets, bulletproof vests, etc. Any idea on the technical rules about using non-standard issue gear on the front lines?
There aren't really.
Yeah. Like the guys, most of the guys. So a lot of the guys don't like the equipment. I can just say
it's not, a lot of it is not
quality.
comfortable. It's not the best. Like, yes, it will work, but especially the helmets are often like EarPro doesn't fit with it. It's not that comfortable. The vests tend to be kind of big and bulky. A lot of them prefer to buy their own. However, depending, you know, some of them will just take whatever they can get. So there's that.
Yeah. It's a weird thing because I feel like there's no one size fits all. Like, it's not like this is how it works everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Does not apply in Ukraine, or at least not, especially not with regards to this war.
No, it really, and it changes constantly is the thing too. It's constantly changing.
Yeah.
The rules for, you know, how people operate constantly change. The teams taking foreigners constantly change. Everything is constantly changing. This is why one thing, there's some people who were in Ukraine in 2022 and they're still kind of running around being like, oh, I'm an expert, I did this. Like, none of that knowledge is applicable anymore. It was an entirely different landscape 3 years ago than it is now. We've changed, you know, how we operate many times. I think every group doing supplies has had to constantly adapt and change.
Yeah. No, it's completely changed. And I mean, even now Halina is training me. She's like, because she used to do the documents and do like that liaising with soldiers, because I just get people who need stuff and I'm like, here, take care of it. She's like, no, you're doing it now. You bring it in. So now I'm doing it. But she still does the actual documentation in Ukrainian because my Ukrainian is still non-existent.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have volunteers who handle the Ukrainian part. However, for us, I actually need Spanish and Portuguese more than Ukrainian sometimes. So.
Oh yeah, of course, because of the soldiers you work with.
Exactly. Yeah, just totally different population.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Like, yeah, I know. Also, there are, we gotta just on the thing where you said like, they don't always get like the good supplied stuff, and in our stream last week when we spoke to Zhenya, he said one of the things that happens is the government can provide these things. Like if we look at drones, okay, because people ask why do we need to fundraise for FPVs, okay. Government can provide it. It's just oftentimes it takes so long to get this to do this process that by the time these drones arrive, they are no longer effective because the landscape has changed so much. And that is why, you know, and it's the same with these small things because they need it now. They don't need it 3 months from now. They need it now.
This is where volunteer groups come in
for you.
Speed that we can we can get things out the same day sometimes.
So for you, one of the things that I've noticed I struggle with, right, is the specific thing of we have a need, but we also need that buffer in the bank in case there's an emergency, right? And it's always difficult when you're looking at like, okay, how am I going to do this? Because I know there's this need, and yes, they can wait, but what if something happens? Then you're kind of feeling like it's, maybe if they had this equipment, it would not have happened to them. Like someone would not get injured kind of thing. So do you have the same worries or the same struggle? And how do you deal with it?
Same struggle of, you know, you want to keep a reserve in the bank for those emergency needs where you're just not going to have time to fundraise. However, you also don't want to sit on money when somebody's asking for something. So it's a balance of, you know, we try and keep just kind of like $1,000 just on hand always, of just be able to get small things. That's probably give or take the right number, but there's no easy answer for that. The other thing too is, I mean, I think everybody doing supplying, like we all kind of live with the guilt of things of, what if we had done something faster or something differently? We had a really tragic incident last year where there's a Legion team that we work with that we were trying to do an emergency fundraiser to get them a drone jammer. And we fundraised extremely fast. I think we raised $9,000 in 24 hours. You know, it was super, super fast. We ordered the jammer. It arrived 24 hours too late, and that team had they did not get to take on the mission, and they had a mass casualty incident, and they lost multiple
Oh
lives.
my goodness.
And so when I got the update of like, hey, that was brutal. And you start thinking like, okay, if we could only had ordered it faster. And of course, there's nothing could be done. We went as fast as possible. But that's really the life or death kind of thing. We've had other people,
Yeah.
that are. So we've had. I try not to keep a number, but I think we've had 20% of the volunteers we matched have been killed, maybe more. It's extremely high, extremely high. And so just constantly thinking about like, okay, what could have changed this is always difficult to think about. Of course, nothing could change it. Like we can't predict and you
Yeah.
can't save everyone. It's more.
Yeah.
But I think every group supplying lives with that differently.
Yeah. It's a difficult thing. I remember the first time I really had that what if they had this moment was when our friend Vova, who's a firefighter in Kharkiv, his dad was killed in 2023 because his dad was also a firefighter, and they both went out on. There was a Shahid attack. They both went out. Russia double tapped, and his dad was killed just a few blocks away from him, and he knew it was
Yeah.
his dad's area that got hit, and he got there, and his dad was gone. And they had actually asked us for protective gear
Yeah.
because it was just when Russia started doing the double taps, and they were like, can we get some protective gear? And I was asking around, was going to start a fundraiser, but I've asked other organizations
Yeah.
to help, and it was promises were made but not delivered on. Right back then we didn't have the full setup that we have now. Our focus was more frontline support. And when Vladislav got killed, I was like, I was panicking. Like I phoned Pete that night. I was like, is this my fault? Is this because of this? And he said, Yana, it landed 2 meters away from him. Protective gear would not have helped. And that, but it was like this weird sense of relief that this is not my fault, even though I know it's Russia's fault. But there's always that thing of like, if they had this, maybe it wouldn't have been a problem. I remember when Pete was killed, it was the same for me. I'm like, if we had this money, if we had these drones, would he and the guys have had to be out on position, right? And it's always this constant thing, like always these voices in your head, and then the only way that I get to silence them is like, okay, cool, I need to fundraise more money. I feel like a squirrel stocking up for winter.
So I think the way I was at this, I think I'm coming in at an advantage here because I came in with the training of being a lawyer, and I know Twitter thinks I'm a fake lawyer, but no, I'm actually a real lawyer. I did human rights law. You're just confused of what that is or something. And we get pretty extensive.
Humans have rights? What?
Yeah.
I'm like, fake lawyer.
But yeah, we get pretty extensive training on how to separate yourself emotionally from what you're doing, and especially how to deal with secondary trauma, because you're responsible for somebody else's issues, but ultimately sometimes you can fix them, sometimes you cannot, and you can't always blame yourself for that. And so I draw very hard boundaries. When I'm off work, I'm off. When I draw boundaries with the people I work with the soldiers. Of some of them are very dear friends of mine, but most of them are people that we're assisting. But there's a boundary there.
Yeah. Is that professional?
Exactly. Boundary. I think
yeah.
of it. Just this is the person that I'm assisting, and that's what the relationship is there. And some of them are going to lose them. And I think of it just in the same way when I've done human rights legal work before. Of you're assisting somebody in navigating this problem. It may or may not work out. It's not your responsibility if it doesn't. And especially when we're working in dangerous circumstances, some people are not going to make it. And your job is not to be their therapist, not to be their mother, but to make sure that they get what they need and to do your job. I think that training has really saved me. I also had, when I got into this, I had a couple of law school classmates contact me. They're combat veterans themselves, and they were like both just kind of, whoa, we need to talk to you about what you're doing here. Because they were just kind of like, well, this is an interesting development, but also it was more just like, hey, you're not thinking about the emotional toll that you're gonna have. Because what they told me, I started off just doing the flights, and they were like, a lot of these guys are gonna go over there and they're gonna die. And you're going to think I was the one that flew them, and you need to learn how to separate yourself. So they gave me a lot of good tips on how to do that. I think the main takeaway I also had to do, they were like, if people by the end of this say that, wow, she was ruthless, but she was effective, that means that you did your job. And that's what usually go for, because it's making extremely difficult calls. Sometimes it's keeping going, when you lose a friend in the morning and which happens constantly, you have to think about, how do I actually keep going? It's like, how do I keep myself going?
Yeah.
How to be responsible for everybody around me. And you've got to have really strong boundaries to be able to do that.
Yeah. I think Helena is teaching me that, because like sometimes I get it, and then Helena will just psychologist me.
Yeah.
Like she'll just zap me with some quick therapy. I'm like, okay, thank you for that. And then I get worked up, and she's like, zap, and I'm like, okay, thank you. But yeah, I think that training you had, I think it definitely.
Oh yeah, no,
helps,
I don't. I think I would have burnt out by now without that. Like, that was the thing that really saved me here. Or I would, I wouldn't be able to emotionally do it anymore.
Yeah. I am all out of questions for you. Anything you want to add, Nick? Do you have any sandbag questions?
Well, one thing I was interested in was like, how do you go about vetting the new volunteers? Because that must be a difficult process, or complicated in anyway.
That's a great question. So this is, again,
That's why I have him here.
yeah. This is we're doing things so differently than everybody else too. I think it's always confusing. I'm like, what's going on over there? So we work on a referral system to get funding for any of the major things, not the duct tape, that kind of thing. You have to have a referral from somebody that we have worked with previously. So that means somebody that is also serving Ukraine or has served and can vouch for your character, your work ethic, and say, yes, this is a solid person. So they share the application around and refer different people, and then we contact them and check out what this person is really doing. What we're looking for with that so there's a few reasons for this. One is, so we used to just have an open application way back when we first started with just one team. We expanded out from there. And when we expanded, we immediately got scammers contacting us and people just telling all kinds of stories, and it just became a mess. And so we decided, okay, no, we're going to have to go slowly and go out just by referral. And now we've got a huge network within that. The reasons for this are, number one, when you see just a contract for somebody, you really can't tell much of anything, because they might have gone AWOL. Actually, you got to check with your team leader to know, are they still around? Or they might be with a team, but then you talk to the team leader and they're like, well, this guy's a piece of shit. We don't even take him on missions, this kind of thing. It's common, actually, the world will just be like, well, we're stuck with him. So he's
in the back. He's flipping burgers.
The only way to know that is to actually check the references of people, and with people who are credible themselves. We've got people who've worked with us since 2022, 2023, have done great work themselves. There's nobody has 100% track record, but in general, when they refer somebody, they're also doing very good work. So that's how it moves through there. And generally we start to, if somebody's new to us, we start working with them something small. We'll give them a small amount of supplies and see if we have any issues or follow up with that. And then we'll kind of move on to new things. So that's how we've been able to replicate. We used to be, we started super small 3 years ago, and now we're a huge organization supporting thousands of people. But the way to do that was incrementally. I think, especially the way to check for foreign volunteers is completely different from Ukrainians. In general, for Ukrainians, like if you are checking, like, hey, this brigade is active, this is where they are and this is what they need, that generally tends to be quite accurate. With the foreigners, we've got people who move teams all the time. We have some known problem people in the country, essentially, who are constantly hitting up NGOs for stuff. So you really have to know the references of the people. And this is why I would also just express extreme caution for anybody wanting to support foreigners in Ukraine without somebody here checking it out first, of like, please don't just send your money blindly, like just because they're here. That doesn't necessarily mean this is the right person for you to be working with.
And how do you go about choosing who to match them with as a donor? Is it entirely based on how much support they need?
It's depending on your donors sign up and give an idea of what they can provide. We do ask, some donors prefer certain people. Sometimes we have donors who prefer medics. Women want to be matched with women. Totally fine to do that. So it goes by preference. But mainly it's just in terms of what people need and what a donor is able to provide. What is unpredictable for us is sometimes a person signs up and says, well, I can support $25 a month, help them get a tourniquet, something like that. And then it turns out later they're like, oh, I love this volunteer. I'm going to help them with thousands to get an MVG, which is amazing, but just entirely unpredictable of who's going to do that versus who's really just
like, do you find that happens a lot?
A lot, actually.
Wow. That's
awesome.
So something that Helena and I were talking about earlier today actually is, a lot of the volunteers, a lot of the soldiers, we kind of like, we're like, okay, if you're the volunteer coordinator for your company, then, it's not the most fun job, it's exhausting. They oftentimes, like, I feel so sorry for Viper because sometimes I'm just like, hey, can you come and chat quickly? Like today, poor dude's, he's tired. I'm like, just pop in and say hi. Other times I'm like, hey, will you come on a stream and we talk about this, And I know with some of the younger guys, it's about kind of training them how to be, I want to say self-sufficient, but like teach a man to fish kind of thing. So do you also like give that kind of advice? Because I know, Pete spoke to some of the guys and was like, he was like, look, if you get matched with a donor, you need to understand they are invested in you, but also in having a relationship with you, So there's often that kind of trade-off. Do you also give that advice to the soldiers you help and be like, hey, you have this responsibility. This is kind of what's expected of you.
This is the thing. We've gotten more strict with this over time. And one of the reasons we really want referrals also to know, we can't guarantee personality is one thing, can't always predict how people are going to behave. But in general, it's like, does this person have basic social skills? Would be one, to make sure that they're going to want to talk to donors, because this is a social interaction. I think one thing that just helps is the times where I've seen it not go well, people are matched up together. One is don't discuss politics. That's a bad idea when you got people from around the world. Don't get into that. Or just personal religious beliefs and that sort of thing. Just accept that unless you're really thick-skinned, that's probably not where you want to go with a different group of people. In the sense, just reasonable expectations of both sides. That the volunteer needs to be giving some updates. They should be sharing the receipts of anything purchased and photos, this kind of thing, within reason. We always tell them to, like, it's great if you share photos of the cats and dogs you guys find, and you just kind of give us some.
They love
that.
I love that
everybody is basically just say, hey, if you know what you would say, just show the cat. Like, everybody loves a cat. But the expectation is that you interact and you do follow up, and that you not be demanding or manipulating. Totally fine to ask for things, but if they can't provide, that's fine. And also no emotional manipulation in terms of, like, if you don't send this, I'll die kind of thing. No, like, we will cut you off. On the flip side with donors, we have sometimes a couple problems. One is that sometimes we do get people who give red flags for maybe asking for too much information or are just a little too invasive. And in those cases, we will tell people, sorry, no. I'm sure some of them are really lovely, well-meaning people who don't realize it, but we do have to be careful of, like, no, you can't be asking too much. And then just reasonable expectations in terms of communication too. Like, they're busy, they can't talk to you every day. Don't expect to be their best friend tomorrow, kind of thing. Let the situation develop into friendship, that kind of thing. But that's where if people come into it with reasonable expectations, it can be amazing, and they end up with a beautiful friendship. Some of the donor chats are apparently pretty funny too. It's just zinger jokes back and forth. So I'm a little jealous I'm not in there.
And if people,
I just need to take my dog out quickly. I'll be right back.
If people want to donate, where can they go?
Sure. So our website is ProtectaVolunteer.com, and so you can donate directly there. There's actually there's multiple different ways to donate. One is you just donate directly through PayPal, or you can sign up as either a flight donor or a supplies donor. Either one of them works. I highly encourage just matching with a volunteer. That's a pretty rewarding experience and pretty unique too.
Yeah. And what is, like, the is there any big specific fundraisers or anything coming up?
The pink tools. Yeah,
Pink tools,
tool one is definitely going to come up. Right now, we're actually, the stuff we've been provided lately is a lot of really small essential stuff like EcoFlows, Starlinks, the tools kind of thing. So we haven't had a really big one. And we did just do an MVG fundraiser, and luckily it seems like he's going to get his MVG. So that's amazing.
Those are expensive.
They're very expensive.
Yeah. Nick, you don't know. You're looking at like £5,000
Yeah, that's
for
quite a lot.
NVG.
The ones we provided have been anywhere from about $2,400 up to about $10,000, just completely depending upon what they need and what the role is for. Everybody's got, those are super complicated. Everybody's got different needs for what they're doing.
Wow.
Yeah. So no, it's an expensive thing.
Super, super expensive, and we can never have enough. The other thing too, they get damaged a lot too. You know, as soon as you have to dive in the ground and hit your head, they're damaged. So.
Yeah. One thing I actually want to ask you is, so obviously, like, I want to say you're a woman, and I was like, that's going to be such a weird thing to point out. Everyone can.
Are you going to confirm or deny this?
I will confirm. Yes, yes.
You heard it here first.
Yes. This is a new scandal. Yes.
You heard it here first, Nick.
Yeah.
Seriously. Do you think, and I mean, do you think that soldiers are more comfortable talking to you about, the more mundane small needs, than as opposed to a guy? Because I know with Halina and I, we've been talking to the soldiers when Pete was alive, and then she went to see them, and they were like, actually, we struggle with our Starlink payments. When we never knew, we've worked with these guys for 2 years, we never knew it was that they struggled with it.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that gives you makes, in a sense, you're more approachable, or, they kind of get the motherly vibe from you?
Yeah. So it's a really good question, actually. I don't think my job could be done by a man. Just not necessarily because men don't have the skills, but just because of kind of the perception of different things. And I think I have noticed they're often extremely honest with me about what they need or what they're struggling with. They're not afraid to be maybe vulnerable in a way where they will just tell you like, hey, this is a problem. Whereas with the dudes, they're like, oh, I gotta be.
I'm good. I'm fine, bro. I'm good. Just walk it off, man.
Yeah. No, I'm good. And then to me privately, they'll be like, oh, hey, there's actually this problem. So no, I think they are very honest. I think it also helps them to they're in such an environment where then, what's interesting for me is almost all the volunteers we work with are male. We've got some women, but it's probably 98% men. Most of them are on teams that are only men. And so when they interact with me sometimes in person, it might be the first time they've talked to a woman in months. And so sometimes they'll be like, oh my God, it's a girl. And you gotta get over that. And it's pretty funny to watch that happen. But it's always complete respect of what happened. I've never had any incident actually of any of the teams we work with, any kind of a problem working with women. Where I've had major issues is with the GWAT vet bros who are also running their own NGOs and being like, oh, she could never do this kind of thing. And then the peanut gallery, I would say.
Yeah, you and I, we actually spoke about this a while ago back privately, and I was telling you because we come across as assertive. It's fine if you're a man. My nickname apparently in some circles is Bitch Yana.
Means you're getting shit done.
I didn't know you knew about that.
No, as soon as I hear that some woman is getting called a bitch, I'm like, I should meet her because it sounds like she's probably pretty effective at whatever she's doing. But but this is none of the assault teams work that way. So, for example, Rogue Team, it's all former military, highly professional team here. Tempest Group, everybody former military, toughest guys you'll ever meet. None of them talk about women this way or talk to women. Never been spoken to that way. They do not have this issue. They don't talk. They tell stupid jokes. Yes, that's true. They're absolutely effective, but they don't disrespect people this way. It is not a problem. From other NGOs, from men to constant problems. From the peanut gallery on the internet and stuff, just constant problems of how people are spoken. That to me is I think what's most shocking. That's where the problems are coming from.
Yeah, it's not underground.
No,
it's not the soldiers that,
No, they there's a lot of them will tell me they don't want women on their teams, and for various reasons, there's different reasons why a lot of them will tell that, but it doesn't mean that they don't respect women and the roles that they're doing outside to supply them. it's always been respectful, and they will interfere too. Like if you know, like they will say like, hey, like that's not acceptable to talk to somebody. And so I think that to me, I've actually got, so we are actually, almost all of our volunteers are women, are on the admin side of things. And the reason for that is a lot of them came to come and work with us because they're trying to work with different NGOs and we're just feeling like they're getting disrespected all the time. And
bro culture.
culture. And we were originally supposed to be set up under an NGO that was run by military veterans from the US. And we originally tried to work with them because it was like, hey, you know, I've got all the NGO experience. I've got all the ideas on airline miles and matching people up to, you know, the queen of ideas here, but no military experience. We tried to work with them. They would not work with us. And so eventually I was like, well, I'm out then. And then everybody followed me. So we set up our own thing. So people are always like, hey, why is PAV run by a civilian? That is why, because pros wouldn't work with us.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's
ghosts.
no, it's my dog. It's
I
Sky.
did that too. Like, what's happening back there?
No, it's my dog. So she has her teddy, and she just brought it into. She had to go out, and then she had to come in. And she realized her teddy isn't here, so she went to fetch it, and now she's here. She shook it around, and now she's lying next to her teddy. I'm like, what was the point of this? But I understand. It looks really weird. Even I was like, what's going on with the door?
As we have Minister for the Recovery of Stolen Toilets. That's great.
Oh yes, people in this chat is hilarious. Like we have that. We also have the real Vladimir Putin, who sometimes checks in. Yeah, that's the name is the real Vladimir Putin.
He's not the real one though.
Thanks, Nick.
Honestly, I can tell. I can always tell.
Thank you for checking that out.
You can always tell. Yeah. We've got. Yeah, but no, Minister for the Recovery of Stolen Toilets is like, that's a solid screen name. And then Olga Bateman is here. That's our wonderful Olya. And Olya says, since Nick can't troll, shall I? I don't know, Olya. Can you troll? I don't think Olya can troll.
I don't think she's got the experience needed.
No, we've got the Dow clown right here. But yeah, Rachel, thank you so much for being here. I usually like tell people it's an hour because that's the way I get them on the show. Like, it's an hour.
You're lying to people. All lies.
No, usually I cut it off at an hour because I know people have social lives and plans and everything.
But we don't have to worry about that with us.
Yeah. No life. Yeah. No life here.
Okay, perfect. So, any other topics you guys want to discuss? Chad, do you have any other questions that we haven't asked yet?
Any question? Happy to address it.
Oh, crap. I'm on top chat the whole time. I'm not reading live. Oh, my goodness. I'm so sorry, everyone. Let's see if I missed anything. Okay. Salt of the Red Earth says, thank you for talking about how volunteers are selected. I'm so sorry, guys. I was like, for some reason I had top chat, not live chat, and that's the problem. Anyway.
These people don't know what they're talking about anyway.
Don't insult my chat.
No, I'm talking mainly about
You're usually one of them. And in Olya says, Rachel, you are amazing.
Thank you.
Martin UK. Evenings. Oh, sorry, I missed most of this. We'll catch after. You're gonna love it. It's an awesome stream. And thank you for being here. Sally Oconto says, Godspeed, Infowars. Okay. Alex Jorn fan here, I think. Or maybe I'm just missing the joke.
I'm easily mistaken for Alex Jones. I can see, like who wouldn't have that problem.
It's all about shouting.
I was thinking it's Nick. Seriously, don't make it about you, Rachel. We have the man here. Let's just blame him.
So that's why I was invited on.
Yeah.
That's why you're here, to take all the blame. Okay. Thank you both so much.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. That was really interesting.
Awesome. Cool. Have an awesome evening. Alex Jones was right. Cool. Tell that to the court, bruh. Because I think they will disagree with you. Anyway, on that low note, I guess, we end this. Yes,
Yeah,
Rachel.
okay, no, just thank you very much for having me, and thank you for everybody in the chat too for coming. And I hope you all stay involved in whatever way you want to support Ukraine. Pick your way.
Rachel's links is in the description. You can check it out. You can check them out, and then once this is done, I'll just tag PAV on YouTube as well. Then, yeah, awesome. So thank you guys so much. Also, a fitness model. Thank you for being here. Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks, guys.